And I got a call, an interesting call, not from a surveyor, but he was an industrial valve technician. He worked at an industrial valve plant and specialized. That's all he'd done pretty much his entire life, and he wasn't that old. And he said, "Hey," he goes, "there's something really strange about." I'm going to tie this in with what you said, Jason, which is the ISS. And you can. Well, I'm going to tie you into what I think you're going to talk about, circulated air. And he goes, there's something really strange about that. And he goes, every submarine. He goes because the industrial valve sector is really tied to submarines. We deal, because somebody has to make them, and we have to make them. He goes, but he goes, even no matter what we have to make it, and confirm this or deny this right off the bat. He goes, every submarine has a full-blown machine shop on board to make adjustments to things and make pieces on the fly because you're underwater.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
Drill presses, lathes, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, the whole 9 yards. He goes, because some of those valves are very, very, the tolerances are very tight. And he goes, last time I checked, you don't have a full-blown machine shop on the ISS. He goes, what are they doing for their seals between compartments? And he goes, on top of that, there's lubricants for the seals. He goes, what equipment? He goes, because machine shops are extremely heavy. They're just huge blocks of metal. He goes, how would you even put those in there? Where would you do it? Who's working on this stuff? He goes, it doesn't exist. He goes, that the ISS could never function as long as it did with the equipment they're using.
Yeah.
And you said you mentioned, because you wanted me to remind you that you guys don't pop up to circulate your air very often.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't know a whole lot about the ISS. This is a whole recent revelation to me. I didn't give.
Yeah, but we'll compare it to a submarine because he was.
But how long has the ISS been up in space?
Long time. Years.
Okay, well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Not only do they have to deal with either the atmosphere or the lack of atmosphere around the ISS,
mm-hmm.
but they have to manage the difference between that atmosphere and the atmosphere inside, because you can only like on a submarine, we can only draw our atmosphere down to a certain pressure to where it becomes dangerous for the people inside, all right? Because you have to have atmospheric pressure at a certain level. It's like, climbing a high mountain. You go up to a certain altitude. You have the same percentage of oxygen in that air, but the atmospheric pressure is so low, you're not getting the cubic feet per minute or cubic inches per minute of oxygen into your system.
Yeah, like commercial planes will set it, because I had an altimeter on my watch when I was traveling, and they set it between about 3,500 and 5,000 feet,
mm-hmm.
roughly, in the interior pressure.
Right.
Yeah.
Now with the ISS, here's what happens when you have people in an enclosed area. They off-gas certain contaminants. Carbon dioxide is the biggest one.
Yeah.
You have equipment that gives off carbon monoxide. Anytime you have anything heat producing, you're going to make carbon monoxide.
Mm-hmm.
You use up oxygen. If I remember correctly, the human body, we use about 0.83 cubic feet per hour of oxygen.
Okay.
Right. Now, in a submarine, you have to calculate that for that. So if you're not going to be recirculating your air anytime soon, and you get your oxygen level down to a certain point, normal levels about, I think it's 20.5%.
Mm-hmm.
Our low tolerance level on a submarine was 17%. All right. Usually when we started to get down around 19%, we would do an oxygen bleed. Now, from what I understand, they have oxygen generators on the ISS. Okay.
Okay.
They claim they can make oxygen. All right. Now they're going to have to make oxygen at a rate of 0.83 standard cubic feet per minute, or standard cubic feet per hour, or greater,
mm-hmm.
just to keep up with the amount of people that are breathing it.
Sure.
They have 10 people on board. They're going to have to make oxygen or bleed oxygen into the atmosphere at a rate of 10 cubic feet per hour, standard cubic feet per hour, or they're going to die.
Okay.
Not going to make enough oxygen. let's see. Now, along with the oxygen generator, in order to make oxygen in an oxygen generator, you just can't put regular water in there. It has to be purified water.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because it's the process is called electrolysis. We pretty much run a current through the water, and it splits the hydrogen and the oxygen.
Correct.
You take now you've got hydrogen. Okay.
Yep.
Hydrogen, left all on its own, filling spaces is a bad thing. It's an explosive.
Yeah.
So now you got to harness the hydrogen. So I want to know how they're harnessing the hydrogen up there. And then you got to pump it overboard. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, with all this is said and done, if you put people in a contained atmosphere, over time, the atmospheric pressure is going to lower because you're pumping. They have their CO2 scrubbers, carbon monoxide scrubbers, and all that stuff on board.
Mm-hmm.
What they're doing is they're cleaning the air, and they have to get rid of those contaminants. You got to pump them overboard. It's the only way you can get rid of them, is pump them overboard.
Yeah.
So over time, you're pumping these contaminants outside of the people tank, and over time, that lowers the pressure. So I want to know, over all these years, how are they keeping that pressure up? They can't be doing it with just pure oxygen.
Yeah. Yep. Good point. And if the let me throw one more at you, and that is if this system, which sounds way more sophisticated, well, okay, the short version is why isn't the United States military using this for their submarines? If it's so great, if you can actually stay up, if they can stay up there for years, because you guys have to surface every once in a while to swap out air.
Yeah.
Right. But they're not ever. So why isn't, and the military has a great budget from what I hear. Why wouldn't submarines be retrofitting to these things a long time ago?
And they actually supposedly use some of the same equipment that we've used on submarines. Their atmosphere monitoring system is
but that's
the exact same thing we use on submarines.
Yeah.
But where are they getting the fresh air?
Yeah.
Can't be being flown up to them all the time. Dragon and SpaceX doesn't make a flight every few days,
It only lasts so long.
Yeah, and I can confer with that because I already know what he's referring to with the 20% thing. Yeah. You could have any gas-free engineer that's served in the Navy come and talk to you about that. It's all about percentages, and if they just keep dumping contaminants out, they are depressurizing their cabin every single time they do it. And just the simple act of hydrolysis isn't enough to put enough pressure back into their enclosed cabin. It's just not.
I think they put all that pressure back in when they use all that hairspray for the women.
Yeah. If you guys haven't watched, I don't know if you've watched any of the ISS. Yeah, that's brilliant. The one that I liked that again, everybody misses the most obvious thing was he goes, wait, where are the hatches that are between the segments? He goes, every in a thing like that where it's it's supposed to be airtight. He goes, where are the freaking doors between the sections? Because either they were there and you took them out and you chucked them, or they were never there to begin with. Which means if something goes wrong in any part of that station, the smallest hole, those guys walking around their khakis and their polo shirts, they're doomed. It's like, that's a whole other thing. It's like, why are they going around in khakis and polo shirts?
But wait. As far as atmosphere, when we're talking about atmosphere, like our atmosphere here is 81% nitrogen.
Yeah.
So they don't fill the cabin with nitrogen as well, do they?
Oh, good point.
About 79% nitrogen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Usually 20.7 oxygen, and then minuscule amounts of carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and argon.
Right.
Yeah. And can I just say something real quick?
Yeah,
kind of touching on that. I've done a lot of research on the ISS. I know Jason hasn't had a chance to yet, but not only to mention the pressurization thing, they act all nonchalant and, decompartmentalized spaces that are just all arbitrarily connected together, all while flying around 17,000 miles an hour with the doom and gloom of, thousands and thousands of micrometeoroids slamming into you, having that risk every single hour, and they're just walking around Like, nothing's dangerous. And, you know, I'm not making this up. This is their claim. They claim that, you know, thousands and thousands of tons of micrometeoroids are flying through the, close to our atmosphere every single day throughout the year, and they're slamming into the moon, and they're never supposedly like running into the ISS ever.
Yeah. Well, man, you saw that piece of crap film. I mean, it was cool for the graphics, but Gravity 2013. Sandra Bullock.
Yeah.
I mean, not only was she lucky. I mean, talk about a movie where crap's flying all over the place, and she's making it, you know, by fourth and inches, always making it right past the danger. Yeah. But like you said, why should they be scared if they're filming it in a studio or deep under, in some big tank in
Yeah, that's the Apollo argument, which most people don't even talk about, which is forget about all the camera techniques and the lighting thing and the lack of gravity in the wires and all the crap that was used on the Apollo stuff. It's the attitude that bugged me, because these guys are walking around. I mean, every time they fell, I'm going, man, if I fell in a first-time usage spacesuit for like this on the ground, I would be scared to death that someone was going to puncture my my. And they're playing golf, they're driving around in mood buggies, none of which we saw got put together, and they couldn't have been. They were singing, doing all this fun stuff. I was going, the only thing I would be thinking about on that moon is mission, whatever my mission is.
How do I not die?
Yeah, how do I not die and get the hell out of there? Because you would never be that nonchalant. But yeah, like you're saying, in a studio, that it starts to take over, because you're kind of cracking jokes, kind of like an outtake reel on a real studio, because that's where the fun stuff happens. Everyone's like going because they know no matter what happens, they're going to live through it. It's not a big deal to them, and they should have edited all that stuff out, and they didn't.
Yeah, and people criticize us. I've read some of the comments on the interview that I've done. Mm-hmm. I expected it, but people want to criticize us for believing what we believe. Just imagine this, America. Your taxpayers' dollars every year go to a bunch of clowns that pretend they're in space, and they're just all nonchalant about it. Never once has anyone ever taken a satellite picture of an upside-down city from the perspective of space. Never once has anyone ever had the open commercialization of space travel. Yep. SpaceX talks a good game, but we're apparently going to be going to Mars by, 2020 or some, science fiction bullcrap like that.
Yeah.
You just look at it. Look at the attitude that runs behind it. Look at the people. Go out and do this research yourself. Look at who founded NASA. Yeah. Look at all the order of progression of what happened for NASA's